Hey there, guys. It's Andrew. I just wanted to make a video talking about my actual thoughts on Metroid Prime since Chief reviewed it. And I don't want people getting the idea that I hate the game. I actually really like the game. So I wanted to just make this video to talk about my actual thoughts on Metroid Prime. So, a little bit of backstory on my history with Metroid. The first time I ever played Metroid was actually Metroid Prime, but the first time I ever even knew what Metroid was or even heard about anything connected to it was Super Smash Bros. Melee for the Nintendo GameCube because Samus was in that. And much like most people who have played Metroid, at least the original for the first time, I thought she was a guy at first. So I was kind of surprised when I found out that she was actually a woman. I didn't even care because I was just like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. I didn't find out that she was a girl until Super Smash Bros. Brawl's first trailer came out and she was in that Zero suit. So let's talk about Metroid Prime. It was the first Metroid game I ever played. Not the only game I played. I've also played Prime Hunters, but I had it for the Nintendo GameCube when I was very young. I wanted to say, I don't remember what age I was. Couldn't be more than like maybe 10. Maybe younger, I don't know. When I first played the game, I had a really hard time with it. This is definitely a game that does not hold your hand. It makes you think sometimes. So when I first played the game, if you remember the Parasite Queen that Chief went up against, I could not get past her when I first played. I remember me and my friend Caleb, back in my old house, we played Metroid Prime, and we got to the Parasite Queen. We could not for our life beat her at all. I know that kind of sounds dumb considering she's the first boss, and for many of you she might be the easiest boss, but you have to remember we were young back then. We were dumb kids. Not even my parents could beat her. At that point our gaming experience had mostly been Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Mario Kart Double Dash, and Super Mario Sunshine. We weren't really that good at first-person shooters yet. And this is a game that's not like a lot of other first-person shooters. The controls in this game are very, very different from other first-person shooters. Even ones on the Wii, like GoldenEye, at least they still have like consistent things that most first-person shooters have. So let's talk about what I liked about the game. I think this is something everyone can agree on. The music for Metroid Prime is fucking fantastic. Like, it's some of the best music I've heard in a video game, honestly. And this is one thing that I think a lot of Metroid fans will pick up on, is that a lot of these songs that they put into Metroid Prime were actually remixes of some of the themes from, I want to say, Super Metroid? It's either that or Zero Mission. I don't think they redid tracks from the original Metroid, but like there's some great music in this. Like Phendrana Drifts, or it's Phendrana's Edge. It sounds like a freaking disco thing, which is awesome. Even the Parasite Queen theme, it's really great. Thardis's theme. I'm not huge on Flagra's theme. I feel like it was too soothing. Now this was in the original Metroid Prime I'm talking about, and apparently in the Metroid Prime trilogy, which remade the game, the theme for Flagra is actually, is that how you say it, Flagra? Apparently the theme for Flagra in the Metroid Prime trilogy is actually extended, and it sounds a tiny bit better, but I'm still not a huge fan of it. The Hive Mech also has great music. Ridley's theme, I actually like Ridley's theme. The first time I ever heard that theme was actually in Brawl. If you remember, you hear it right before you actually fight Meta Ridley in the Subspace Emissary. It's not my personal favorite Ridley theme. My favorite would probably have to be the one from Other M. It's way too good. Proteus Ridley is also another one. I feel like Proteus Ridley is a better version of this one. Like I said, it's not bad. It's actually really catchy. But like when you compare it to like other Ridley themes, this one, it doesn't have that bass that, Ridley's theme usually has. It's just kind of da 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 da, and the other ones are like da 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 da. I don't know. I just felt like it could have been done a little bit better. I do like how the Metroid Prime, the core's theme is basically the main theme for the Metroid Prime game, like the menu. I thought that was pretty cool. The ambient music is also really good in some areas. I don't, except for the Phazon Mines. I can't even remember what the music for that was. Now, the graphics are another thing I want to talk about. Like, I feel like I've talked about the music enough, and the music's great. 10 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10 with the music, but 10 out of 10 are with some of the compositions. I love some of the compositions. The graphics, though, are surprisingly good for 2002. Like this is around the same time that games like Combat Evolved, and I think like 2 years before Halo 2 came out. And I'm gonna be honest, I like the graphics in this game much better than actually some games nowadays. Like it's obviously not the most high poly or realistic, but it's like you step into this world and it looks amazing. Like, yeah, it's the GameCube graphics, so it's not gonna be freaking 60 frames per second, 4K freaking grass moves, but it looks good. And I think that's what matters. You can make something look realistic and it still looks like shit, in my opinion. When it looks good, that knows you've done something right. And I think that Samus, in particular, like her armor, it looks so good for 2002. And it just amazes me, like, just how great the graphics were for the GameCube compared to, like, nowadays. I mean, nowadays we have much better graphics, but it just looks so beautiful. Like, you can't deny this looks beautiful. And especially, like, when you get into every new area and it's just like you're given sort of an introduction cutscene to each area. Usually, the designs of all the landscapes are gorgeous. It's a gorgeous game. The sound design is great. Like, just on a like visual and audio wise, this game is amazing. But it still has some flaws. Let's talk about what I don't like, because there's quite a few things I don't like. I think the biggest one and this is something I agree with Chief on, the backtracking in this game sucks. This game is very tedious, and a lot of it is due to the backtracking. I remember when I first played this game, like all the way through, I went to go to the crashed frigate Orpheon, or whatever the fuck it's called, first, and I went down into that drowned area. I went all the way, and then I realized, oh wait, I need the gravity suit to progress. So then I have to cross all the way back to Phendrana's edge, just so I can get the gravity suit and go back to the Talon overworld, just so I can go up these stupid steps. That I felt like that was kind of bullshit. I did not like that. And that's another thing too regarding like the areas. Like, while they do look beautiful, and I cannot stress this enough, they look gorgeous, I hate going to every single one of them. Except for Talon Overworld. And it's mostly because it's like after you've done this place and you've seen it, I mean, it's just like, I don't want to go. It looks gorgeous, but I don't want to go back to it. But the game, especially once they, like, you can play the game and you can get those Chozo artifacts ahead of time. But if you don't know about the Chozo artifacts, the game doesn't tell you until after you defeat the Omega Pirate. And then you have to go all the way back to all of these different Chozo artifact areas, and honestly, I agree with Chief. The clues are terrible. I actually had to get a guide for some of them because I had forgotten where some of them were. But yeah, you have to go all the way back to get all these Chozo artifacts, and it pads out the runtime. It's like I hate going into one room and there's like 3 Chozo ghosts that are in my way, or I go to another area with space pirates and the door's locked and I can't actually skip them like I can with the Chozo. And especially with like the flying pirates, they're not hard to kill, they're just annoying. Typically I would shoot them with the ice beam and then use a missile to blow them up, but they keep avoiding that. So I think that the enemy types are pretty cool once you first see them, but after like the 50th time you fight them, it gets tedious at that point. You just want to get past them. I'm not a huge fan of the controls. I don't mind the locking system. That actually helps a lot, but I'm not a fan of the fact that the only way to look up and down is by holding the left trigger button. And because like at times it would be really helpful to look down, especially in the jumping sections. Like when you're jumping up, it's not that hard. The problem is when you're jumping down, because you can't see what exactly is below you. So you kind of have to jump forward a tiny bit and hope you don't overshoot or undershoot like that area you're trying to jump to. And that, I feel like that was a huge issue, at least for the GameCube version of Metroid Prime. I do think it was annoying that every time, like, you kept having to switch your weapons to unlock every single door. I think with Super Metroid, once you shot like a door, like with the missile doors, you shot them once and they were open forever. With this, you could just open them with the beam anytime you wanted to. But with this game, you do have to switch to like the plasma beam, the wave beam, the ice beam. Just another thing that I feel like pads out the runtime. But yeah, the backtracking is it's horrible. it's so bad in this game. And like, if it wasn't for the good music, the good graphics, and just the wonder of exploring new areas, which exploring new areas is probably one of the best things in this game, because when you explore a new area, there's a sense of, oh, this is so cool. I found a new little area. This is neat. But like but it's when you have to keep trekking back to them that it's just annoying. And like I said, with like the space pirates, sometimes when you fight them, the door's locked, so you have to kill them all to progress to the next level. Now here's another thing I do like about the game. There's no load screens. I think most of them are hidden behind the elevator cutscenes, or like whenever you're fighting an enemy, so that you don't have to, like the Chozo ghost, you don't have to, like when you go to the next room, because it's still loading, you have to fight the Chozo ghost to get past it, but I mean, you can still pass by the Chozo ghost anyways. Another thing I don't like is trying to get 100%. I'm going to be honest, I did not 100% the game. I just took a cutscene from YouTube. I'm being honest right there. Because trying to find all of the items in this game is a pain in the ass. There's a shit ton of them. For some of them, like if you notice, there's a scene in Hypernews 3 where I'm jumping up this rock cavern in Magmoor Caverns and trying to get this health canister, and I'm doing the morph ball bomb jump. That was a pain in the ass to do, and I don't ever want to do it again. I think I almost died trying to get that thing. And at least if it wasn't a health canister, I probably would have just given up. But because I knew Metroid Prime was going to be a hard as fuck boss, I decided to grab it anyways, because, I mean, it's going to help me. Another thing that I don't like about this game is, like I said, it doesn't really hold your hand, which that's fine, but it's like at times it's like, okay, I can really use the help, and sometimes it does help you. It gives you these little map trackers and you can go find them out, but sometimes it's like, okay, how exactly do I get here? And sometimes it's like the answers to the questions aren't, the riddles, they aren't obvious. They're hidden in plain sight, but at the same time it's just like, okay, you never told me I could do this, so how was I supposed to know I could do that? Now, there is a lot of scanning in this game, and scanning can definitely help you get out of tricky situations, especially like if you're stuck in some areas. I think the scanning's fine. Maybe a bit too much, but I mean, it's like, who cares? It's just scanning. And like some people don't like it. They're like, oh no, I don't want to scan everything in the game. You do not have to scan everything in the game to get 100%. I mean, it helps if you scan everything, because so you don't miss anything. If you're a lore buff, you're going to love scanning, because a lot of the lore is behind all of these scanning buttons. Personally, I think the game is fun for what it's worth. I think that it does its job. It handles fairly well. I managed to at least get through it okay. Would I call it one of my favorite games of all time? No, I would not. It's a very frustrating game. I'm not gonna be biased just because I have nostalgia for it. It's a very decent game, and I think Nintendo was kind of trying to still figure out like the controls for first-person shooters. But the game is maybe like, I think, a 7 or 8 out of 10. Like I said, the graphics, the audio, and the visuals are amazing, but where it falters is the gameplay. It feels like a chore sometimes, and sometimes I just put the controller down and I want to go play like a different game. Because sometimes it just frustrated the hell out of me, and I was just like, okay, there's probably other things I could do. But it is not a terrible game. It's not a bad game. It's probably a 7.5 out of 10 for me. I think that if the controls were a little bit better, I'd give it a better score. And this is a GameCube version. I know that the Wii version, the Metroid Prime trilogy, is a little bit different. But for this game, there's too much backtracking. There's too many things that pad out the runtime, and it can get really, really boring. But again, that's if you've gone to the same place for like 50 times. And again, I think it's worth playing through at least once. I don't think it's worth completing all the way through, because you still got Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, which shows Dark Samus anyways, so you don't need that ending cutscene. You can just play it through once, get as many items as you can, get that cutscene with Samus taking her helmet off, and I mean, boom, you got a fairly decent game. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Metroid Prime. Next hyper news will be Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga for the Wii, because that's the only system I have it on. So that should be fun. I'm gonna bring in Captain Rex to answer some fan mail. So if you want to send any fan mail to him, just join the Discord or send it to that email I put in the description of the last video. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Metroid Prime. I hope it's good for all of you. Mickey's dead in the background. I don't give a shit. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope that clears up my thoughts on Metroid Prime. So thanks for watching.